What is that? What is he want?
I think he was just asking.
Oh.
Jeff wants to go.
Do you know what colors they are? I'll try and ride up there. This one. I don't know.
Chair.
Check. And this will be televised, if I'm correct, over the World Wide Web.
I'm Kahu Richard, a neighbor of Gordon. Gordon and I had a wonderful ritual we shared together every evening. I would, about 5:30, thereabout, I'd blow my poo, and then Gordon would respond, and it was beautiful. And so, in time, we had hoped that the other neighbors would also join in. And the other evening, when I blew the poo, the grandchildren responded, and then the neighbors started blowing their poo. So, in that spirit, I'd like to begin this service by blowing the poo, and the grandchildren will respond. Thank you. I know Gordon is smiling.
Rio.
We have gathered here today to remember and honor Gordon Piʻianāiʻa. It was such a great pleasure and blessing for me to have it, to be a neighbor of his, and to share together. And for all of you who are gathered here today, you are here to offer your blessing and aloha and mahalo and farewell. Some of you have sailed with Gordon on the Hōkūleʻa. Dennis Chun is here. An old friend of mine. His dad and I served together. And so for all of you, may God bless and touch each and every one of us, that we each, in our different ways, may somehow offer ourselves with love and aloha and care, that we may somehow make the corner of the world where we live a kinder, gentler, and embracing place. So, dear God, bless each and every one of us as we share together. Amen.
Mahalo, Kahu, Richard, cousins. There were two things that stood out to me today about this day and this place. One, speaking with my father, was the location, the fact that they had spent so much time living here. So that stood out. As children, they had spent significant time living here with Tutu. And the other thing was the weather. The last few days have been pouring, and I was speaking with cousin Edie earlier, and it's like we had faith that it would all be just right as it's supposed to. And then I began thinking of, after that, how to describe his life, and I have a hard time with that. He's touched so many lives. He's had so many different roles in his life, from a son, a father, excuse me, classmate, sailor, teacher, captain, or kapena, you may call him too, brother, uncle, papa, lieutenant commander. Yeah, he's been so much. And I've only been in a short part of his life, so I only had a glimpse of it all. But with that being said, I'd like to hand it over to others that can speak more for their parts of his life. If I can call upon Auntie Rosie Paris, who's very much his Sanai daughter, we could say that.
Thank you, everybody, for being here to honor my dad. I was lucky to call him my dad, and he was a great, great, great Hawaiian Chinese man. And he always reminded us that at the end, his Chinese little thing that he was growing. I was like, I don't know, Dad, but he wore it proudly. Also, I'd like to take the time to thank the family for putting this on, because I know Dad didn't want any big brouhaha, and if you knew him, you knew that it was one of those things where he didn't want a big deal. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. And so thank you for allowing us to celebrate him. I just want to say, if Uncle Norman, could you stand for a sec? Because you are the last from Abe and Popo. And we're not going there. We're not going there. That was good. And then if I could get Chad and Chris to stand. They were my mom and dad's two sons. Yeah. I actually knew the Piʻanaiʻa's mom and dad before Chris was born. That's how long I've known them. As a matter of fact, I met Mama and Billy Piʻianāiʻa. I was shooting baskets, and Mama Billy, she said, "Hi, neighbor." They were the new neighbors, and she had almond cookies that I'm sure Gordon had a hard time partying with. But that's how I first met them. After that, I could not be away. I wanted to be at the Piʻanaiʻa's house all the time. It was always fun. We'd have like hot dog eating contest. We'd have, I remember walking on Dad's back. You know, he would want us to massage him. And we got paid 15 cents for 10 gray hairs that we pulled out of his head. Yeah, just couldn't stop being around the Piʻanaiʻa's. Some of my fondest memories were when we went to Punahou Cottages. It was on the beach. They took us, and we would go scavenger hunt. They would make us go on scavenger hunt. And that scavenger hunt, they would ask us to find clothespins. They would ask us to find crabs. They would send the kids out, and they'd want us to find pine cones and all these things that is like, it would take forever to find. And years later, you figured out that they were just sending you away because they needed alone time. Also, I remember going to Punaluu. Dad loved diving and squidding. And to the very end, he would say, when I would come up and I would say, "Hey, Dad, you want me to bring anything?" And he'd say, "Yeah. Can you stop by Times and can you get me the squid, the baby squid?" So Dad loved being in the water. He loved fishing. He loved everything on the water about it. I remember that. And he loved his Hawaiian food. He loved poi. There were some things that I was like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm going to try that. What was that called? It was something liver, fish liver? Yeah, dude, I'm like, I'm out. Not doing that one. Definitely not doing that one. I almost got 86'd out of the family. When we moved away, I did a little prankster. And if you were here at Mom's services, you'll remember that I called the taxi department and I was like, "Hey, go over to 570 Ka'awakea and beep your horn when you get there." And sure enough, the taxi driver went over, beeped his horn. Gordon came out. He's like, "I didn't order a taxi." So I called the taxi cab back. I said, no, go again, but this time beep louder. Sure enough, they went, they beeped. Gordon came out. He's like, "I didn't order a taxi. Stop coming." About 15, 20 minutes later, pizza delivery showed up, and 10 pizzas. I had ordered 10 pizzas and sent it to 570 Ka'awakea Road. And Gordon goes, "We didn't order any pizza." Like, well, pizza came. Gordon's like, I'm sure Gordon was PO'd at that point. But no, Rosie had to go over the hill and call the fire department and said there was a fire at 570 Ka'awakea. Come quick. And the sirens were blaring, the ambulance came, Gordon came out, and he was livid. And I remember Erin Freitas came up to me and she said, "Oh, I remember that day. Dad was so mad." And I don't know why he thought it was me that did it. And sure enough, when I went to the house a few days later, Billy said, "Rosie, yes? Gordon thinks that you did this, and this." And this was my look. I said to her, she said, "He thinks you did it." And I went, "Me?" And she believed me. And for about 15 years, I kept denying it. And then one time when I came clean on it, I could tell she just was like, oh, like she believed me all those years. But I never got 86th from the family because Gordon loved Billy. Gordon loved Billy. And Billy, if Billy, like, I just knew that I had to be in with Billy. If I was in with Billy, I was still in. But Gordon, like, ooh, I couldn't fool that guy. But he loved Mom. He loved Mom, and he loved me because Mom loved me. It's true. Because Mom loved me, he loved me. And she was my PE teacher in intermediate school. And I was Kalohi then, and I did some things, but she still loved me. I remember when she kicked me out of class, on the referral it said, "Remove Rosie from all of my classes." Boom. I was like, ooh, I'm out. But she still had a soft spot in her heart for me. She still wanted to see me do good. I could always call her for advice all those years. Honestly, if it wasn't for Gordon and Billy, they took me to my tennis tournaments. Some of you may know that I was a pretty good tennis player. Chad and Chris had to take up tennis because Rosie was playing tennis. But some of my accomplishments, I know, like Gordon taught me, like, you just don't talk about yourself. You just, whatever you do the right thing, and you do it because it's the right thing to do. And I don't talk about myself. I don't talk about my accomplishments. I always feel like them as educators, there's more to learn. But I will today share a few of my accomplishments. And it wouldn't have been possible if Mom and Dad didn't love me as much as they loved me. I'm the first and only female master tennis professional in the United States in Northern California. I won 11 national titles and was ranked #1 in the United States 6 different times. As an administrator, my team and I, we won USTA National Organization of the Year. I was honored to be selected as the best tennis player to ever play for the University of Hawaii. I'm in the circle of honor with my doubles partner, Rose. I've been inducted into 5 Hall of Fames, and none of this would have been possible if Mama Billy and Papa Gordon, my dad, my parents, maybe we weren't blood, but they loved me like I was their blood. And I'm so grateful that I had an opportunity that they never gave up on me. So I'm here to honor that great, great, great man. I would come twice a week, fly in from California, make sure he was okay, because he took care of me. And I love him like he was my father, because he treated me like I was his daughter. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Uncle Kimo, who has a long and a deep connection to Uncle Gordon. And maybe you can tell us a bit about that.
Aloha kako, everybody. Sorry, but I might be reading a bunch of this because I'm not the speaker that my brother was. He was pretty extemporaneous. It was Norman and Gordon. Mahalo all for being here, and mahalo kia kua for this pause in this weather. And thank you for every drop of rain you brought. I first met Gordon, I can't recall. He and Brother Norman were really good friends with my brother Dave. Dave is some 7 years older than me, so these are all my big brothers. Dave adored the Piʻanaiʻa family. Father Abraham was an amazing educator and seafarer from way back. Mother Ann was the utmost welcoming matriarch. Sister Ilima, a beautiful Kolohi contemporary Hawaiian woman. And over time, our ohanas merged into one. Gordon, Norman, Dave were mates in the Merchant Marine. Mike Motion, Dave's roommate at Cal Maritime, remembered how good a mentor and upperclassman Gordon was to them. I believe, I'm starting to skip into that period of life known as CRS, so I reached out to friends and family for fact checks. Even so, some of these recollections may be historical fiction. I believe the first time I sailed with Gordon was on the cutter Rowena. Dave, Gordon, and Norman had sailed aboard her in the 67 Transpac. They had a great voyage, even if they were close to last. A week later was the Hanalei Bay race, and Dave got my sister and I aboard for the very pleasant downwind overnight crossing. This was my initiation into ocean sailing, and I got to stay aboard for the return voyage to San Francisco. Gordon was not aboard for that, but Brother Norman was, and I learned a lot from him and the entire crew and was turned on to life at sea. Next time we sailed together was in 1976 when Gordon and I were selected to help bring Hōkūleʻa home from Tahiti. We were interviewed for the opportunity by Herb Connie and Rudy Choi, competing with one other guy, I forgot his name, but the local boys got the job. We flew down on 3rd of July, I think, 2nd or 3rd, and were picked up at the airport by Ben Finney. Gordon's luggage was lost in transit. I lucked out. So everyone shared clothing all the way home with Gordon. Maybe not Keani or Penny. We departed Papeete on July 4th, 76. The reason, he told me, that he chose July 4th of this year to depart this earthly realm. It was certainly a little awkward. I had not been involved with the conception, construction, launching, or training phases of Hōkū, as both my brother and sister were, and I figured 3 limans was overkill. And talking with Norman last night, he told me 1 liman is overkill. But I admired the project, but I was busy doing yacht delivery and preparing for the birth of my firstborn. So there we were, newbies, literally knowing no one aboard. That was short-lived, though, because the crew was amazingly accepting, friendly, welcoming, and it got better through the voyage. I think the first command I heard from the newly commissioned first mate Gordon Piʻanaiʻa happened while we were casting off, pulling forward to retrieve the hook. Hōkūleʻa was the little dog that made this trip home, 33-day sail home, down to Tahiti, and was to make the return with us. Saw what was happening, that we were leaving, said hell no, ran the deck, and leaped off the stern. I might be imagining this, but I swear I heard Gordon yell, "Penny, get that dog!" Maybe she did it on her own, but she did dive in and retrieved her, much to the dog's disgruntlement. She was literally a salty dog the entire voyage home. And I know it reminded me recently that she even crapped on my track chart. We had a beautiful 22-day return trip, friends made for life, great fishing, cribbage tournaments, favorable weather, and an incredible welcome home at Magic Island. The voyage cemented a lifelong relationship with my new big brother from another mother. Gordon and I had a number of trips on Hōkūleʻa subsequently, but not together until '95 when we sailed down the west coast. It was another amazing voyage, mingling and learning from many tribes, getting adopted by the Muckleshoot. I have an image of Gordon and Anohi Paishan lashing an eagle feather right next to the Hawaiian flag. Gordon stayed in touch with Sharon and her family ever since, after we stayed on the res at their house. It was a similar voyage to what Hoku just repeated, with the highlight being our arrival in San Francisco with all my big brothers aboard, Gordon, Norman, and Dave, and as well as my 16-year-old daughter, Lalima. The night before we entered the bay, we were anchored in Drake's Bay with the local fishing fleet, chomping on gifted salmon, playing music, anticipating the following day's festivities, which included a flower shower as we passed under the Golden Gate, some 40 outriggers, the Hawaiian Chieftain, a nice sailing ship, fireboat, and numerous yachts and boats. We were supposed to go straight to Aquatic Park, but as we passed a huge throng of people at Chrissy Field, Norm said, "We got to stop," and we did. There was Danny Akaka aboard, chanting to his Uncle Abraham ashore as we backed in, easing off a bow anchor while getting heaved in by the crowd. It was an unforgettable magic moment. Gordon was the epitome of a shipmate. He was knowledgeable, confident, always stood his watch, and practiced prudent seamanship. Prudent is a term that the Coast Guard loves. It's a single word that encompasses pre-planning, common sense, and wise decisions resulting in safe passages for the crew and the vessel. Gordon embraced this concept. Beyond his skills on the sea, he nurtured thousands of children with his leadership at explorations at Kamehameha, encouraged kids to go to sea, and mentored those aboard. He wowed all with his shock-white mini afro, and like sailing with John Cruise or Timmy Gilliam, made your watch fly by with wisecracks, jokes, interspersed with his deep knowledge of history and contemporary Hawaiian issues. Gordon is now with Billy and the ancestors and will always be with all of us. When I'm in foul weather, I won't hesitate to ask him and all of them, kokua, and I know they will deliver. Preparing for this was a wonderful voyage in the ocean of memory, and I thank Chris and the Ohana for the invitation. Aloha kākua, mahalo ki akua. Happy holidays. Peace.
Mahalo kokimo. Lastly, I'd like to call upon Uncle Roy Yee, who was on the way over here, my dad reminded me that was our Popo's favorite son.
Yeah, I'm Roy Yee, and as you know, it's Gordon Yee Piʻianāiʻa. But we were never able to figure out what side of Keamoku Street my Yee came from versus his Yee. Anyway, we love Chinese food together, so that didn't make any difference. But I'm not really sure how I met Gordon many years ago. It could be with one of my classmates, Henry Kim or Butch Wise, because Norman was my classmate at Punahou. I did not go to Kamehameha, and Gordon was older. But both of us liked to drink, so I guess that's how we got together. I never went to sea. I was always the fix-it guy ashore because I ran a shipyard and an electrical shop, and I get seasick. But Dave Lyman used to tell me, he says, "Brother, go to sea, you can go as Sparky." Well, there's no Sparkies on board ships anymore, right? And he says, "Well, can you cook?" I says, "Yeah, rice, corned beef and onions and corned beef. And if we get egg, I throw the egg inside." But that's me. And Gordon tried to get me to fish. I wore glasses that were so thick I couldn't see anything underwater. But he took me out to sea anyway. Anyway, what I'd like to do this morning is to keep it very light, because that's the way Gordon would like it. He said, let's go on a little voyage in Gordon's life and renew some relationships amongst all of you here. How many of you here have known Gordon since small kid time, Hanabata days? Just raise your, okay. Step one. How many of you went to school with him at Kamehameha? Oh, that's true. You went Punahou, brother. You getting that old? Okay. All right, how many of you attended school with him at Cal Maritime? Aha. I haven't seen you for a long time. Like a ghost. How many of you sailed with him as a merchant mariner? No, nobody sailed with him as a merchant mariner. All right, here's a good one. How many of you were at the Barefoot Bar the night he met Billy after a pool game at the Tongs? So, okay. How many of you knew him as a lieutenant commander in the Navy Reserves? See, that part of his life you didn't know, huh? He was a naval officer. How many taught school with him at Punahou? Nobody? Hey, Punahou guys are no good then. All right. How many here worked with him at the Hawaiian Studies Institute at Kamehameha? Nobody? Oh, my goodness. You already talked about Hōkūleʻa, so we won't go there, okay? All right, here's one, though, that I understand was one of his pride and joy trips on the Hōkūleʻa. He took his dad, Abe, and his son, Chad, on the trip. How many in here were on that same trip? Chad, you got to raise your hand. Very good. That was one of his favorite trips. All right, here's another one. Did you know that he played volleyball for the UH many, many years ago? I found out the hard way because we had a pickup game, and I'm not a volleyball player, at the Kim's in Kahaluu, and he spiked the ball into my face. And so that's how I knew he was a volleyball player. All right. How many of you have sailed with him on a Transpac race? Aha. Norman. Okay. All right. Here's a good one. Did you know that he was an operator at the Basquiat Bridge in Sand Island? And I used to have lunch with him every day so we could look at all the people fooling around in the parking lot. Gordon was so close to me, I asked him to be best man at both of my weddings. And my current wife is sitting here, so the other one, okay? All right. Now, the family was so close to us, the kids grew up in our house, and we traded who's going to cook dinner on Sundays. And so the whole family either come to my place or we go over to Kailua and eat. But when they moved back into town, we kind of parted a little bit because too far to drive from Kaneohe to St. Louis. I debated to about 3 o'clock this morning on whether to tell this story because of the mixed company here. Gordon would tell it? Gordon would go? Okay. Imagine this. Later in life, Gordon and I and Uncle Hector right here, the three bozos, would eat breakfast on Saturday mornings at all kinds of places in town just to renew our relationships with Chinatown, Waihawa, any place. Just pick a place. Well, Hector and I had to pick up Gordon one morning. And if you've been up at the house at the top of St. Louis, right? The entrance faces Malka, so nobody can see. So Hector and I looked at each other and says, let's surprise brother. So here's what we did. Remember now, nobody can see, not even you. And because he's the neighbor, that's why I said that. So Hector and I dressed up in our birthday suit, knocked on the front door to pick up Gordon. Well, who answers the door? Auntie Billy. Auntie Billy opened the door part way, and she looked at us and she says, "Hell no." She slammed the door on us. So here the two idiots are standing out there in the cold. It's cold up there in St. Louis in the morning. Okay? And you could hear Auntie Billy go, "Gordon, Gordon, your friends are here." And you could hear her going in the background. So about a minute or two later, the door opens. And Gordon's in his birthday suit now. She shoves him out the door and locks the door on us. So the three of us are standing out there like damn fools in our birthday suit and no place to go. So there, I told the story. I got it off my chest. That's the side of Gordon that very few of you knew and maybe didn't want to know. But that's the side of him that I loved, and I know Hector loved very much. And we were doing things with him like that for years and years and years. There's many, many, many more stories, but there's no time for it right now. But I'd like to conclude with that story because it was heartwarming. It was true. There are others. Catch me later. Okay. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and give you a slice of Gordon's life with us that was very, very different than all of you may or may not have experienced. But he was a great, great brother to me. Thank you.
Sorry, Hector Venegas is going to bless us with his voice, if I'm correct.
Buenos dias. I am Hector Venegas. You know, my name is not in the program. For whatever reason, I don't know. But I am here. Last night, I got a very long-distance phone call from Gordon. He said, "Hector, aren't you going to be stupid?" Of course I'm here. Now, Gordon, Roy, and I, the three caballeros, we had some funny things, including that, but I'm going to add one more to that story. It does include a little bit of nudity. I used to have a Ford van. I took the middle seats out of the car. So I was the driver, and there was a back seat, big back seat. And my caballeros, the two of those guys, sat in the back. Now, we were going to Wajigua for some reason, eat menudo, I don't know. But they decided to take off their clothes as we're passing Pearl Harbor. Now, I am driving and I get distracted. And I say, I got to take a photo of this. I carry a camera on my car. So I'm driving with one hand, I get the camera, and I'm going to do this. And I look at the side, and there was a motorcycle cop watching me. Well, that put end to that trip. Billy and Gordon joined the Tamaros, Germains, and Venegas on many occasions: Father's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, Independence Day, Christmas, New Year's. And we were an extended family. Gordon and Billy were part of this extended family. And I got to tell you, all of us loved him. Okay, Gordon, I'll be brief. Okay. For my dear friend, on this occasion, I would like to sing for him a song that Mr. Peter Moon put music to, and I wrote the lyrics for it. I'm not a singer, I'm a frustrated entertainer. Leon, I'll be there. Where I live, there are rainbows with life and the laughter of morning and starry night. Where I live, there are rainbows and flowers full of color and birds filled with song. I can laugh when it's raining and touch the warmth of the sun. I hear children laughing, and this place that I love. Where I live, there are rainbows with life and the dark and starry nights.
Morning, everybody. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Chris. I'm number 2. And I want to say thank you to all of you for coming here. I know some of you came from 20 feet away. Some of you came from thousands of miles away. Some of you came from the outer islands. Some of you got bailed out of jail to get here this morning. True story. I really wanted to thank all the people that helped put this thing together, because it's been a bit stressful, and you guys have really helped take a lot of the burden off of myself, my brother, my boss, my kids. I wanted to thank everybody that lent a hand in, everything from putting the tea leaf arrangements together. Thank you, David, once again. To our family's kahu here, our poo companion, the people on the panel, my sister Rosie, Uncle Kimo, Uncle Roy, my father's namesake, Gordon Yee Piʻianāiʻa. Thank you for putting all this together. I could go on and on, but I feel like the meat and the potatoes of what needs to be said has already been said. It's already been touched on. He was a diverse person. He was a very private person to most people. I've been told you never really know where you stood with him. And I felt that way too. He said, hey, don't do anything for me. I gotcha. Anyway. But again, thank you so much. I want to make sure you guys stick around. We got plenty of food afterwards, and we still have, our kahu to come up, say a final word, and then Ida will lead us in song at the end. Yeah? Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
This has been a wonderful time and an eye-opening experience for me. I learned things about my neighbor that I never knew. Gordon was Gordon. He was a captain in so many different ways. And the words that he wrote are so fitting for this occasion. Let me share them with you. Lord, I give the command back to you. We have fair winds and following seas. Our course is due north. Rudder is at midship, and speed is full ahead. Lord, take me home. Aloha, Gordon. Full speed ahead and go home to the Lord. Amen.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Aida Hanuhanu. And in a tradition of my Halepule, we always do an AO for somebody who has passed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read his full name, and then I'm going to count 2, 3, and we're just going to go, AO Gordon. You guys can do it? Okay. And then after that, we're going to do Hawaii Aloha. So if you can stand, you can stand. If you can't, that's fine. And just grab somebody's hand, and that'll be the pau. Okay. Okay. So, Gordon Papa Yee, ke ave a he ulu, ke li'i mai ka'i Piʻianaiʻa, e kahi, e lua, e kolu. Gordon! Okay. If you want to stand, stand. We're going to do Hawaii Aloha. Mahalo.
Hawaii Aloha. E Hawaii